Okay, so the race here today is going to be at Interlagos, which is where the Brazilian Grand Prix is held. So here's our lap. Front straightaway, coming into turn one. Uh, you want to get all your braking done, turn down onto this curb on the inside, and then quickly yank it back to the right and get all four tires onto the curb through here to get back on the throttle now. So you can be full on the throttle all through this turn here. This leads onto this long straight here. Our braking point is going to be right at about where, right about here where this cutout is. There's also a 100-meter sign right there as well. But usually try to brake right about where that asphalt part kicks out. And you want to get far to the left side and get over those curbs on the left-hand side, which is easier said than done. I usually don't get all the way onto those left-hand curbs. And here on this lap, looks like I lost it. Uh, as you can see, if you leave your braking too late, um, that can happen because then you're still trailing braking on as you're going into the turn. So those rear tires will break loose. That's definitely a risk. So normally you want to be close to the left side over there on those curbs. And then as you approach this turn here, it's a little bit tricky. You see a lot of different lines through this turn. I like to be a little closer than that normally to the curbs. Definitely I'm on the trying to be on the curbs here, but not drift too wide over here. Get all your braking done, downshift once, sometimes twice, depending on how you did the shifting on the turn before. This can be a little tricky, especially on cold tires. Get back on the throttle early right here. A lot of people don't get back on the throttle early enough. And you can see because they don't use all that track to the right. Again, brake, downshift here. Use all the inside curb late if you can. Coming around here, kind of close to the white line, maybe on the curbs. And then what I've been playing with here on this turn, before I was braking at about this dark mark, and I think if you brake a little bit earlier here, it allows you to get the car start to rotate left, and you can run over these curbs over here and see which way I do it on this lap here. So I left my braking way too late, missed the apex completely, and ran super wide over here, and almost lost it. Good example of what not to do. And then it's just flat out all through here. When drafting through here by ourselves, we'll definitely be on this inside line. This is the fastest way through here. But if there's a car right at our tail, uh, I've noticed other people do this where they'll run wider out here. So then you're giving the car behind you a choice. Either cut your own air going through here and not be quite as fast as you would if we both went through here. But now you might not be able to pull off the pass on me and slingshot by me down later. Or they stay behind you as you run out wide here, and then they don't have as much an advantage, and you can pull in later as you get farther down. So by myself, no car right on my tail. I'm coming on the far inside. Otherwise, it looks like out farther out. If there is a car on your tail, is the way to go. Either way, a lot of people come close to this Armco, come through here, almost like you're going to go down pit lane, but you don't, and then back out over here and brake around the 50 mark if you have nobody in front of you. So let's look at something here. So when we came through, I don't know if this is a great example here. Let's see how fast we were going right before our braking marker here. We're going 120 miles an hour. Looks like about the peak there before we started getting onto the brakes. In traffic with a car right in front of you, drafting them, you'll get up to 125, and we'll see how that plays out in the race. All right, let's start the race. Here we go. Got a pretty good launch, not a lot of wheel spin. Getting our launch routine figured out. So I got the clutch bite point nailed down pretty good. So we're getting just a pretty good amount of lack of wheel spin right at the line when taking off on cold tires from a dead stop. So you see that was able to get us from fourth to second right at the start. Drifted wide there because I got on a braking weird because uh, the car in front of me, I was trying to avoid him, and it kind of messed up my braking a bit there. So that enabled the car to pass me for third. Just trying to hit my marks perfectly. You see it, we were on the apex a bit better than the other cars there going through that turn. That apex was pretty good. We got a great run coming onto the front straight. He stays to the inside, so that forces us to go to the outside or lift, and we definitely don't want to lift coming onto this long straightaway. I'm just trying to stay in the draft of the car in front of me here. You see the leader went way on the inside to try to break the draft of the car behind him, and I almost took out the car in front of me. So let's look at that a little bit. So there's our normal braking markers, the 50 sign or the um, this little stand here where the flagman is. So it looks like if anything we braked a little bit early. Let's slow this down here. We're on the brakes. I can't see light from there. Switch angles. No, not on the brake there. That's weird. Oh no, I was looking to the wrong spot. This is the 100 sign. We normally brake about the 50 sign. And so we'll watch the braking percentage over here. We'll slow it way down. This is 1/8 speed. So we normally brake about the 50 sign, and we're on the brakes slightly early, just about right. And we're about 70, 80% brake, 90% brake, 80 modulating, 85, 80. Getting back off the brake because I'm getting front wheels locking up, inside left wheels locking up. So I'm backing off the brake, but still trying not to hit the car in front of me, but trying to back off the brake to keep that wheel from being locked. And we luckily just avoided hitting that three car. Um, Trying to get that. Let's see, we can see this from a different angle. Let's see, left front suspension. So I don't know if we'll be able to see exactly where this happens. Yeah, the front wheel is locked. So it locks up right here. And now we're just sliding, 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 getting closer and closer as he's able to slow down. And since our tire is locked, we're not slowing down, even though we backed off the throttle and we're 50%, I mean, backed off the brake, we're 50% braking pressure, 40%, 30%, still locked up, 20% still locked up. Finally, that wheel starts rolling. Um, and we can now get to turning because other than that, we're going straight if we keep that wheel locked. So that hurt us quite a bit. Um, You see we drifted really far wide here, and now we still got to get even more turning done because we weren't able to get our turning done because that front wheel was locked. So now we got to do a bunch of turning. We lose that position again, we're back to fourth again, and get back on the throttle, get going again. So we'll have overheated that left front tire a bit. So I think what happened there was because of the draft, I was going a little bit faster than normal. I was doing about 125 instead of 120 at my braking marker, and uh, that was enough because it looked like the braking pressure we were dealing with pretty good. Maybe I should have done a little harder braking pressure a little earlier, but it actually looked quite decent. Um, so we'll see what adjustments we can make for that next time we head into turn one. See if we learned anything. The car kind of rotated underneath us a little bit there. Late apex right there. That was good. Late apex meaning we're getting close to the inside of the turn later in the turn. Um, Here we go, right over the curb. That's how I want to do it. Right over the inside curb, over the grasscrete on the inside. And that's because we were braking a little bit earlier than we had been doing previously, going through that final hairpin. And we're barely in the draft here. The draft really is kind of helping us here, but not by a lot. Let's see here. Braking, so we're braking right. I don't know if I caught the beginning of that. Um, see when we get on the brakes. Right before the 50 sign. So that's about the same as last time, maybe slightly earlier. And braking 90%, 95%, back to 90, back to 80. Easing off the brake here. Then back on the brake because we feel like, uh-oh, we're not going to quite make it. We're not slowing down enough. And then backing it back down. And we're still not able to turn the car. The wheel is turned, but the car is not turning. And again, now you can see tire smoke coming off there too. And again, we almost clipped that three car. Trying not to, but that that left front wheel is locking up on us, even though we're braking where we normally want to brake. And so the thing to look at here is how fast are we going before we hit the brakes. We're doing 125. On our qualifying lap, we were doing 120 at this point. So this extra 5 miles an hour, because of the draft, because of these cars in front of us breaking the air, moving the air out of the way for us, we're able to come through here a bit quicker. But that means we need to start braking a little bit sooner. And let's see, how long does it take us to bleed off 5 miles an hour? Now we're 5 miles an hour slower. So it takes us about maybe 3 car lengths, 4 car lengths to bleed off 5 miles an hour. So that's what's going on. So luckily we didn't hit the 3 again, but now we definitely need to make a bigger adjustment because that is too close for comfort. In terms of almost taking out another car and not making that turn. So at this point, I'm desperately trying to get closer to the back of that 3 car because I want to be close enough to be in drafting range on the front straightaway. I want to stay with that lead draft. I don't want to lose contact with them. And you can see the leader starting to stretch out a little bit of a lead there. Here, I'm a little more cautious coming through here, but that was good. Oh, I had a lift too far wide. Somehow I didn't get enough turning in. That's exactly what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to lose ground coming out of the front straight. So let's see how we do under braking. Now we have more of a gap. So now there's not really a draft effect at all. And we will see how this affects our speed as we come to the 50 marker. We're doing 118 this time as we hit our braking zone. Before we were doing 125. But let's see how we do through the turn here. And what do you know? We have no issues getting it woed down enough to get it turned. All right, let's skip ahead to the next incident here. And, oh, let's watch this. So I think there's something about to happen in front of us here. No, maybe it wasn't this lap. Let's see what we see here. That one car took it pretty good. Touched the inside curb, which is what you want to do. So these guys are getting a little bit of a gap to me. They're running about a second apart, and I'm about 3 seconds back from third place here. You see, I'm using all the track, trying desperately to catch back up. Back on the throttle hard here. That was pretty good. I'll be doing turning in quite hard enough to get over those curbs, but still pretty decent. So we are about to begin lap 5. Let's skip to the cars ahead. So we're riding along with second place here. So he's got a great draft going on here. He's following along with this lead car, the number 2 car, and looks like he's got a pretty good run coming here, but not quite enough to make it. And he just punts him right in the back. So, uh, let's see. Normally we'd brake right around where this asphalt sticks out right there. And so let's see where these guys did their braking. Oh, 2 car hit the brakes right about the right time. And so did the 1 car, but the 1 car didn't get on the brakes very hard. And that's how he got into the car in front of him. Or maybe the 2 car got on the brakes a little too hard. It's kind of hard to tell from that angle. Um, but because the 1 car was able to hit him and keep it on the track, I kind of think the lead car braked a little too hard. So that's that 1 car waited. He knew he made contact, and so he waited for the other car to get back on the track and get around him, which is pretty sportsmanlike. That's good behavior. That's what you want to see. And now let's jump up to the third place car. So he's following us through here. Um, so now the order is kind of swapped a bit. I ran a little bit wide up there. Let's change angles here. He gets over that curb pretty good. Uses all the track on exit. Switch cameras a little bit there. So a lot of people run a wider line coming out of that turn 3, I think it probably is. Oh, we kept it on the track there. Looks like he probably made up a little ground going through there. Yeah. He's a little closer. I'm taking a little bit of a defensive line. I got on the brakes a little bit earlier there. I tapped the brakes going through that sweeper. He was able to stick it down the inside. And I was fine with that. I felt like he was faster than me. I just wanted to try to follow his line, see if I could learn something. And I was trying to be a little more patient. Oh, you see that? Well, that 1 car somehow behind us somehow saved it. Didn't lose too much ground, even though he went wide, went on the grass a little bit there. That's some pretty impressive car control. So now we're staying in the draft. Let's switch camera angles real quick here. So, uh, so you can see we're partial throttle right here. So I made the decision of I want to stay with this guy. I think he's a bit quicker than me on lap pace, and I got the benefit of the draft. And I'm not going to try to dive bomb him into turn one. So I'm partial throttle through here. You can see I'm playing with the throttle. I started going partial throttle from way back here because I could tell that was approaching close. And I didn't want to hit the brakes, but I just lifted off a bit, 50% throttle, 80% throttle, just 100% throttle, and then hit my braking mark and back on the brakes, even though I'm trying not to dive too deep under braking. And I was trying not to get too close to him, but stay in the draft. And so that's what was going on there. I felt like maybe he could pull me up to the lead car. Maybe we can catch that guy. Um, I just felt like if we got to racing each other, uh, that wasn't going to help either of us, and that he probably had the quicker time around there, and so just wanted to stay in the draft and stay close. But I think we have the other. I had that fourth place car starting to come into the picture a little bit. I think I can hear his engine back there. Yeah, fourth is not too far back, kind of evenly spaced there, probably about a second apart. Trying to hit my new marks. Got the inside on the curb a little bit. Pretty good exit. I think that one car looks like it got a little bit better exit through there. Again, the same deal here. Getting a little bit of a draft and not challenging for position. We're kind of too far back to challenge for position there anyway. Um, but sort of lifted, got on the braking a little bit early. Basically, sort of signaling to the car in front of us, if you keep up this pace, we're content to stay behind you. That one car is getting pretty close now behind us. It's a nice move up the inside. I heard him coming, knew he had a run, and just left the left space there. So we are on lap 8 of 14. Trying to stay right in the draft. Braking a little bit earlier, learning our lesson of carrying a little more speed as we're coming up in the draft of two cars. From the issues earlier, I should have learned more quickly that I need to brake a little bit earlier. The other move I could have made was move the brake balance back a bit. Um, I thought about it for a split second. Um, but I've gotten the rear end of the car stepping out enough around this car in practice that I was a little hesitant to change the brake balance back. Generally, you want the brake balance forward in hard braking turns uh, under really heavy braking. And then if you have a lot of like long turns, that's where you can move the brake balance back and help rotate the car a little bit more. I didn't get my shifting quite right. Sometimes I can't quite get down a gear that I need to there because I'm still on the throttle slightly. And with this sequential gearbox, if you're not basically completely off the throttle, it won't let you go down a gear. And so that's how I lost contact with these two here. I had that happened to me twice on that lap. That was the second time coming onto the front straight where I couldn't get it down a gear. And so these guys touch here. Let's back up and see exactly what happened there. So the two car realized that the one car had a run on him and was to the outside, and so he left him the outside. He's basically running a bit of defensive line. The two cars running a defensive line, but then uh, messes up his braking, runs wide. Is what it looks like. So two car ran a defensive line and then screwed up his braking still. And it looks like sounds like I get a run here. And one car shoots it in there again, where he had gotten by me before. Oh no, it was the next set of turns that looked kind of similar. I think it's where he had gotten past me on a previous lap, 2 laps ago, right here. So I missed my apex big time. Oh, the leader spun right there. That was the leader off on the side. So now we're running second. Now the car in front of us is the leader. Oh, missed the apex by like a car width or so. Let's switch the camera here for a sec. So the one car is getting an awesome run on us here. I held a defensive line, so I saw it coming. I held a defensive line, and he got into us. Let's back it up. And let's look at that a little more closely. So we're coming to the front straight. We must not have got that great of an exit um, because he's coming with a full head of steam here. Uh, so we'll go through this slower. So he gets a great run. He's coming on like gangbusters here. So I took a defensive line, meaning I'm running farther to the inside of the next turn than I normally would. Normally, you'd be farther to the outside because you're going to be making a left turn coming up. But I stayed defensive, which the rule is you can run a defensive line. You just can't react to the car behind you. So I didn't react to the car behind me. I chose a defensive line from way back there. So he decided to go up the inside, just totally his option to do, or he could have gone up the outside. And we'll see how this plays out. So he goes up the inside and then decides to ram into the side of my car. Um, I think he decided he didn't want to be that far inside after having chosen that side, or expected us to, I don't know, swing wider or something. Uh, and so he just rams the side of the car is what it felt like to me and what it looks like to me here. Uh, because if you watch the marks on the track, so we can pick a better angle. Maybe chopper. Okay. So he dives to the inside and then starts swinging back out right into the side of the car. And it's not like he didn't see us, like he just hip checked through there. So I don't know. That's what it is. And then that was pretty close too. So now we're going down the next straightaway. So again, I'm running a slightly defensive line. Normally you would be a little bit farther to the right, but I picked this line coming out of the turn and stayed with it. And he decided again to shoot up the inside. And then he decides to move slightly to the right while he's uh, just put a nose past us. So it was not as blatant this time, but still um, got into the door, spun us around, and then took off. So unlike the sportsmanship showed earlier to the other driver, uh, I, that was, I think, the opposite of sportsmanship.
Thanks, Evandro. I appreciate that. Bashing me twice on straightaways. That's going to be a protest. Just letting you know. It's not a threat.
I was not happy about that. So I'm staying wide here, staying wider here. The other car could have gone up the inside here. Um, I was just going to not make it super easy for him and be on the inside, which is the preferred place to be, and let him get the draft. If you want to get the draft, you got to take a wider line, which is not as efficient. Um, so then once he went wide, then I'm now free to go back to the inside to take a shorter line around the track. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty good run here. So let's see why this is happening. So we are better set up here for this turn. He is kind of out of position and doesn't have his car turned enough. He's a little too far to the right, and his car is not. Uh, the, the the angle of it could be a little bit better. Could be a little bit more turned towards the inside of this turn. And so when he's able to get back to the throttle, let's look at our throttle. We'll go. I'm 100% throttle right here. Turning, still 100% throttle. He's got to back off now. He's going to drift wide. He's having to back off the throttle a little bit right here because he's not going to make that turn. We're still 100% throttle. Still 100%, deciding which way to go, left or right. We decided to go left because he's going to have to go right because he's pushing. Like he can't get his car to turn. So we know he's going to have to go right. There's no way he can get that car going back left. Um, Full throttle still. So he's full throttle at this point for sure. but he had to lift, and that little lift is what's causing this run uh, to go on here. So now he's in the draft. I'm on a little bit of a defensive line. Again, on a defensive line, we're going to go to the right here. Right turn coming up, but I'm already to the right. Force him to go around the outside. Again, defensive line running the inside. He gets into the back of us and stops and waits. So again, it's okay to run a defensive line. You just have to pick it early. You can't do it in response to the car behind you. Uh, so I'm leaving him the outside. Uh, but what happens here is I get on the brakes to make this turn, and he gets into the back of me under braking. Um, we're just crossing lines there and made contact, and he comes to a complete stop because he's basically indicating, "Hey, I didn't do that on purpose. Uh, I'm not trying to pass in a dirty way."
All right, happens.
He had apologized. I didn't hear it come through the audio right now, but uh, he had said sorry. I think a text appeared on the screen. He has a button map to apologize.
Totally fine when it's accidental. When people apologize, when it's on purpose, it sucks.
So right here, he lifted. He's lifting right here to let us by because of um, that contact. I think that's a great example of sportsmanship. I try not to get into anybody, and uh, this doesn't happen that often for me, but uh, that's the way one needs to behave, I think. Everybody's gonna make mistakes. You just got to own it and do the right thing. So now he's got to run. I'm on defensive line. He's crossing over. Now I'm set up for a defensive line going into the next turn. He's got a great run on that side. Oh, he got off onto the grass a little bit, probably checking the mirror, looking around, trying to see where we are, and that caused him to drive off the left side of the track a little bit.
The track temperature is falling. It's now 101 Fahrenheit.
So I'm being a little more careful here to make sure I hit my apexes, to not to leave him that opening on the inside. It's like we got pretty late under braking there and lost the rear end. Let's look at that a little more carefully. So braking hard, still on the throttle for some reason. Um, so watch the wheel. The wheel here is going to turn to the right and then turns back to left as the rear end is stepping out to catch the rear, and back to left, back to left, back to left, trying to catch the car, uh, playing with the throttle at the same time. And so we're pretty lucky to save that. Um, and somehow didn't lose a position. It's kind of surprising. Oh, missed our apex by about a car width there. Again, going to stay wide, it looks like, coming through here. Just trying not to provide too much of an advantage to the car behind me if I can avoid it. Again, not blocking, not ramming. Let him take the inside. That's fine. He's starting to squeeze us to the outside a little bit. And again, he runs wide through there. This time super wide. So he's probably looking in his mirror right here, trying to see where we are. Um, so he knows he's to the inside of us here. But then as we go through this turn, ooh, I had to catch the car there. He got a little bit loose too. And then he's cranking it back to the right, but he doesn't know how far he can crank it to the right because he doesn't know where we are. And in doing so, he goes off the left side of the track. I saw that and gave him extra room there because I know he's going to be coming back on and kind of out of control. And there's no reason to squeeze too tight there. And all right, let's go ahead and skip ahead to see. I don't think there's any more incidents. Oh, looks like he had some sort of other incident here. I don't know what this was. Oh, this was after the race, I think. So that was it. That was the that was the finish. Um, we ended up in third place, and let's look at our lap times. Oops, we switched to the right car. Yeah.
The track temperature's rising. It's now 109 Fahrenheit.
See if we can get to the right car here. Well, I guess we're not going to see lap times. Laps, race. Struggling here. All right. Okay, here we go for lap times. Okay, so looks like the fastest lap was lap number 9, 149.702. 149.7, 149.9, 50.7. We had two really slow laps there, 157 and 159. So kind of erratic a little bit. Fast laps being right in the high 149s, low 150s, and then some issues there. I think where we had contact. Um, but overall, it was fun. Thanks for watching.